It's gone! And Giroux's got it!
And the Sixers have scored 9 in a row. Are you kidding me?
And another good Wednesday morning right here on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio, the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. And today's edition of the Tyler Werner Show, really take your pick as far as topics go today. I mean, we got draft rumors, trade rumors with the draft, not necessarily involving the Philadelphia Eagles, but we'll get into that later. We got Duke winning the NCAA championship last night, putting an end to March Madness basketball, essentially. We got the NBA playoff race, the NHL playoff race, neither of which, of course, is going to involve any Philadelphia teams, but, nevertheless, got more playoffs to look forward to. We got Masters golf coming up, starting tomorrow, actually. Which is, of course, for those who have been following it, is going to Tiger Woods.
I had a few things.
And, yeah, obviously that's bound to, that's going to be a little interesting to see, obviously. I know I made the prediction. I don't think Tiger Woods will win another major tournament again. I think he's, breaking down. But nevertheless, obviously it really brings a lot of intrigue and interest to the tournament. He's teeing off at Augusta, playing, trying to. Initially, it didn't sound like he was going to return until sometime after the Masters, but he's, I guess we'll see. We'll see about that. That'll be a topic of discussion certainly today on the Tyler Werner Show. In short, we have mock drafts to go through. As always, one of them in particular coming out the other day, certainly Brian Baldinger. We'll see what we'll see what kind of predictions he has to make, as well as other insiders in the NFL. Of course, I guess I might sound like a broken record saying this, but we got obviously the other day, Monday was. The opening day for the Philadelphia Phillies. For those who are excited about this season.
Let's make some noise.
I don't know. I was watching a little bit of that game the other day, and it's just they lose 8-0, and
Oh God, ease our suffering, and this is our moment.
I just wasn't surprised by that at all. But if anybody wants to. I guess share thoughts on the Phillies season. If that game the other day, they got they got a couple more games with the Boston Red Sox, and then they got to take on the Washington Nationals. I don't know if there's anybody who is enthused. It was one game the other day. That, as the old saying goes, it was only one game. But to me, it's just a 8-0 loss. I think a hint of a lot of what's to come for the Phillies baseball season for the next several months. So I don't know. Share your thoughts on that if need be. Again, we had several Flyers games to talk about. I'll get into I guess my spiel on that later. Of course, a couple I guess blowout wins against the the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm sure everybody was, Flyer fans out there, since the playoff hopes are obviously dead now. I'm sure a lot of people were excited about that. I mentioned, I think I mentioned last week how, or one of these weeks how, I was going to my brother's house for the Easter dinner weekend, and of course they had arrived home from that Pittsburgh Pittsburgh Penguins versus Flyers game, and they were filming. They had good seats too. They were like a couple rows behind Steve Mason, I guess for 2 of the 3 periods of that game, looking over the shoulder essentially of him, and the right shoulder, and they were showing me some footage they got, and it's great and all. They beat the Penguins. They essentially, eliminated them pretty much from playoff contention. Surprisingly enough, the Penguins looking like they're not going to be in the NHL playoffs this season. That is, I mean, who would have thought that?
Oh my God!
Steve Coates himself, I'm sure, is shocked by that. But, so I guess, for those people, those Flyer fans who are satisfied about that, I mean, I guess more power to you. I mean, they beat the Islanders last night, of course. So it's like another case of, they beat good teams, or at least teams that are like the Penguins, who were desperately fighting for a playoff spot. They beat them twice in typical Flyer fashion. They beat the Islanders, surprisingly rather good team this season. And then, of course, without missing a beat, on Saturday to the Carolina Hurricanes, of course, in typical Flyer fashion. The Carolina team that has nothing to play for and has been, their playoff hopes have been dead for a while. Of course, the Flyers lose to them in a shootout. So, I mean, it's, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's just typical Flyer winning and losing there. They put it together against good teams, but against bad teams, they always seem to come up short. It's mind-boggling. And that's kind of the story of most of their season, and the story of, their inconsistency, why they won't be in the playoffs this year, which to me is a disappointment. And I think they still got a couple meaningless games left, of course, but ultimately, I initially before the season started, I had predicted them to, I guess, be in the playoff mix, one of the lower seeds in the playoffs, maybe a wild card seed, kind of like they were last year. They didn't really do anything to really improve the team, for one thing, so I basically had them right there pretty consistently. And, I mean, they fell quite short of expectations to me, at least as far as I'm concerned, and it's, I know if there's anybody who's, waving the orange and black Flyer flags or whatever next couple of games, or, is proud that the Flyers eliminated the Penguins, if they're satisfied from the, beating the Pittsburgh Penguins twice, eliminating them from the playoff mix, I just, I can't, I'm sorry. I mean, it's one thing when the Flyers, like last year, when they were a playoff team, when they were in the playoff mix, they were one of those playoff teams, and, well, the Penguins as well were one of the higher seeds, of course, in the playoffs. It obviously, the rivalry certainly is taken up a notch, but I can't sit here and, praise the Flyers for beating the Penguins twice in the last week when ultimately they're not going to be in the playoffs. And, to me, have fallen quite short of expectations. So that's the bottom line with the Flyers. I don't mean to rain on anybody's parade. Kind of like the other day when I had really no enthusiasm over Philly's opening day, given the projection of their baseball team. It's just one of these things. I cannot be excited about or satisfied with what the Flyers did in the last week, when ultimately in the big picture they haven't gone anywhere. So that's, again, it's like with the Eagles and the Cowboys rival. Like this past season, it was kind of rekindled a little bit, because the Cowboys for most seasons in recent years, the past decade or so, since the 90s, like the last time they won a playoff game, for you Cowboy fans who want to, brag about your Super Bowl rings, and many of which you probably haven't, really been old enough to be fully invested in really enjoying. It's just the rivalry between the Eagles and the Cowboys in recent years obviously has been, kind of diminished in a sense. And in this case, the Flyers, again, since the Flyers essentially, they're not going to be in the playoffs. I mean, sure, they played the role of spoiler, I guess, and ended the Penguins' chance at being a playoff team by the looks of it. But ultimately, if you're not a playoff team, I can't be thrilled about the Flyers beating the Penguins and spoiling their play. I'm sorry, because that's just the way I look at it. Last year was different. I remember when they had some key wins against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I remember one game, it's coming down to the final seconds of the third period. The Flyers have, a 1-goal lead. They're trying to, just put the game away, not let the Penguins score. One game it was, and Crosby brings one off the post in the final 10 seconds. No goal. The Flyers go home with the win, and they're, things are looking good, like they're going to make the playoffs, etc. And this year, you don't really have that effect, unfortunately. So I can't, again, the thrill for me is not there. But, and I want to, 610-683-4058 or Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. If Flyer fans out there are maybe, I don't know, think I'm raining on their parade in saying those things. I'm not happy with, obviously for those who've been listening to the show consistently, I'm not happy with the direction of the Flyers overall. And I think, when we were having Mitch Lambert on, in the past, it's been a while, and, he doesn't have, I don't think he has much to say with the Flyers as well anyways right now, or what's going on with the Eagles, and he's probably busy studying as he always is for Professor Barish material, I guess you could say. But so I don't know. I would imagine that he would have had similar thoughts on the Flyers and Penguins today. Yeah, they beat the Penguins twice. I'm sure he would have had similar thoughts on that, and certainly he hasn't joined us today, so he's not. I think for those who are wondering, maybe his tenure here on the Tyler Werner Show is done for all we know, which is fine. He's got a lot of things to do lately, so that it's coming late in the semester. But anyway, I'm imagining, Matt Walsh, of course, who is, he's been joining us in recent weeks, and last week he popped on. He heard, I think through one of the TVs in the Rickenbach Learning Center, that I was doing my show, and he popped on for a few minutes, and for a little April Fool's fun, and yeah, and who knows, maybe he'll join us once again later on. We'll see how it goes, because there's mock draft talk to get into today on the show. Obviously, there's Masters talk. I wanted to also bring up specifically with the Masters. Of course, we're gonna have some Tiger Woods updates, of course.
Yesterday I did pull out.
Yeah, not about that, but just because it's a big deal to a lot of people I know. I don't really agree with the that golf is only interesting or watchable when Tiger Woods is playing. I think that's I don't agree with that, obviously, but nevertheless, it's going to bring more intrigue to the tournament, and we'll wait and see. As I have Shockwave Flash plugins that are crashing on some of my tabs here that I have open, but anyways, I wanted to welcome listeners to the show today, and since we got Masters golf, I wanted to play have a little fantasy Masters golf game, I guess you could say, on the Tyler Werner Show. And again, if Matt Walsh joins the show later, maybe get him on this. I don't know how much golf he watches, or if he's going to tune into the Masters, but it's essentially as follows: you pick any golf player who's going to be playing in the tournament that you like, and essentially that represents you. Then next week, see who out of the golfers that everybody has chosen, see who had the best score. Who knows? Maybe you end up picking the winner of the Masters golf tournament. Who knows? And you win by default essentially. So mix in a little game in there, and maybe if it's a listener, maybe I can, get together some kind of little prize packages, maybe some leftover goodies we have here from KUR. I know we've, I don't know, I'm sure we have like an archive of stuff that, I'd be more than happy to put together and give away to listeners. 610-683-4058 is the number to get in if you'd like to get in on that and talk some Philadelphia sports and whatever sports is going on in general. Or, of course, Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show if you want to get in on the discussion. And pick a, Fantasy Masters golf player for the Tyler Werner Show. Tiger Woods, he's going to be in the mix here. As far as my predictions for Tiger, people are wondering how he's going to do. Phil Mickelson had some things to say. We'll get into that a little later. For now, as far as I'm concerned, in Tiger Woods' performance, I think, my prediction for him is that at some point, when his play might start slipping and he's going to start clutching his back again. It wouldn't surprise me. That seems to be a general trend. Whether there's plenty of truth to it or not, I don't know if there's some legitimacy to that or not. I don't know, but it's been pretty standard, at least in the 2014 season of golf, for that to happen with Tiger Woods. But anyways, we'll get into that and more. Maybe, definitely some Chip Kelly and Eagles talk to get into as always. And an interesting article that came out last week from ESPN, which brings in another interesting topic of discussion that we'll discuss right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, we are Pack 183, and we love listening to KUR.
1-800-222-1222. 1-800-222-1222. If you think it might be poison, then the first thing you should do is call 1-800-222-1222. Poison can be anything you're not supposed to take. Antifreeze, pesticide, the wrong drug by mistake. If you breathe a nasty chemical, been bitten by a snake, call the Poison Control Center hotline. We're here for you night or day.
For a poison or drug emergency at home or at work, just call the Poison Control Center hotline. We're here 24/7 with the expert help you need. Free and confidential. Even if you think it's a false alarm, call
1-800-222-1222 or 1-800-222-1222. If you think it might be poison and you don't know what to do, call 1-800-222-1222.
A message from your Poison Control Center.
Light 'em up!
Yes, it's 11:21 right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. And from the KUR notebook, we have an announcement. Attention, KU community. Department of Geography at Kutztown University is pleased to present Dr. Julie Winkler on Thursday, April 9th, 2015, obviously, at 11 a.m. in BAME 260. The lecture is on academic careers in the geosciences, one woman's perspective. This message of community interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. And before we went on the break, I mentioned that we had an interesting ESPN article to bring up today on the Tyler Werner Show, and we'll discuss bits and pieces throughout the show. For those who didn't hear about it last week or whatever, it was ESPN.com, the 20th anniversary, the top 20 athletes from 1995 to 2015. And, first of all, when I think of, that, at least with my whole spin on, when I think the top 20 athletes of 1995 the 2015. At least my criteria would include, how much of that time period certainly, was they were involved, they were perfecting their craft or whatever, what they were accomplishing in that sort of time. Like for instance, like number 20, it begins with Sidney Crosby, and he's the top player essentially in the league. Is widely regarded as the top overall player, obviously the premier player in the NHL for the last 9-10 years. And I mean that's fair to say. I mean, he won a Stanley Cup and all, but I'll kind of do this like sport by sport essentially, because I would argue that instead of Sidney Crosby being the, essentially being the top hockey player because essentially, he's the only hockey player on this list. And hockey, obviously it doesn't, just because the nature of the sport, it's behind several sports, obviously in the pecking order. Obviously, if you're a hockey player, you're not going to get as high up as, say, NFL players would. Essentially, considering the size of the sport and everything. But as far as hockey is concerned, if you're going to have a hockey player on this list at number 20, I think you could argue more that you could put Jaromir Jagr as the top hockey player to represent hockey on this list. At least in because, well, for one thing, he still plays. I mean, gosh, he's like 43 now, going on 44, and he's still playing in the NHL. I'm sure he's got to be the oldest player in the NHL right now. I know, Mark Recchi retired, I think, a couple years ago, and Mike Modano as well, guys that were in their 40s. But Jagr's still out there on the ice playing. And I think, if you're going to say 1995 to 2015, Jagr's been a part of all those seasons. Obviously, Jagr's one of the greatest players in NHL history at this point, with all the points he's accumulated, and especially the last 20 years. And I think it's fair to say that because, I guess when Sidney Crosby even entered the league, essentially, at that point, Jagr was 33. I would assume about there. So, Jagr was, I guess, in a sense, already past his prime, but, before that, since 1995, Jagr was one of the premier players in the NHL, and I think if you're going to include, the last 20 years, Crosby's only had 9 seasons or so in that chunk of time, won Stanley Cup, but Jagr, he's been playing those 20 seasons, or I guess you could say 19 because there was a lockout one year, of course. I think, Jagr could deserve that. There's other players such as like Mario Lemieux, who was in that mix. He didn't win any Stanley Cups during his time, but Lemieux, he retired, like right before Sidney Crosby entered the NHL, or maybe it was like maybe he retired as, in Sidney Crosby's rookie year. I don't entirely remember that. But, and not only that, Lemieux, he had a couple seasons where, he was battling cancer and everything. So, but again, if you're going to think NHL in the last 20 seasons, essentially, Jagr has probably had the biggest, I guess, footprint in a sense, if you want to, I don't know, if you want to make an analogy about that. I don't know. I've taken a couple like environment courses and stuff, over my past several years of college education, and there's terms like what kind of environmental footprint do you leave, and carbon footprints, and just all kinds of, I guess, weird kind of analogies like that, and I think that can apply here when talking about Jaromir Jagr and the kind of footprint he's had on the NHL, in a sense, over the last 20 years. So, I don't know. And again, I mean, it's obviously, there's no Sidney Crosby hate I have, really. I mean, I know there maybe, given that this is a Philadelphia sports talk show, maybe there's a temptation to think that, but because again, I don't totally consider myself a fan. I like to call myself a fanalist, because I grew up a fan, obviously, but I'm not, I'm not just posting about things on Twitter. Well, I'm doing a sports talk show on Kutztown Radio, and I like to try to be legitimate here and have fair viewpoints and not think totally emotionally, not view things through I guess orange sunglasses here, or Eagles green sunglasses when we're talking Eagles. In case I didn't obviously show evidence of that in the opening segment of the Tyler Werner Show today, when I basically poo-pooed what they did against the Penguins in the past week, essentially, because in the grand scheme of it, there's no Flyers playoff contention this year. That's the bottom line. But again, so I mean, with Sidney Crosby, I mean, because again, it's nothing against him, but I think, if you're going to include the last 20 years, Jágr has, in all those seasons, is probably had the biggest footprint in the NHL, if you think about it. So that's how I look at that. Again, I mean, Crosby, I mean, if he were to, come here to the Philadelphia Flyers tomorrow for some wacky reason or whatever, not that that would ever happen, but if something like that were to happen, I'd be thrilled, because the Flyers could use more skilled players like that on this team. That's they could use more Giroux and Jake Voraceks. Obviously, they don't have enough of them, and obviously Sidney Crosby would be quite an acquisition. Not that it would ever happen, but coming from the Pittsburgh Penguins, I mean, if you're a Flyers fan, you don't deny that kind of acquisition of the team would not be thrilling. Because I mean, that's what the Flyers need more of. But I digress, I guess, as some people would say. And as I digress, let's move on. Move into different territory to the Tyler Werner Show call out of the week.
It's time for Tyler Werner's call out of the week.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all.
What's the matter with you? Loser! You're a loser!
Are you kidding me?
Well, I have a microphone and you don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say!
Yes, I mean, I hate to call out, I guess, an ex-Eagle. Actually, an ex-Eagle that I had the pleasure of meeting at an autograph signing a few years ago, and over at the Berkshire Mall down near Reading, for those who don't know what I'm talking about. And a guy that I stood in line for a couple hours, this long line at the Berkshire Mall a few years ago, when he was just a couple years into the league. I got I have an autographed picture of that he signed personally. I have a picture of him signing the picture a couple years in my basement. Big fan I was. All-time leading rusher for the Philadelphia Eagles, LaShawn McCoy. And so if anybody's gonna, I guess, fire back at me for this, keep in mind, believe me, I'm gonna be a fair guy about this, because I have some fond memories watching LaShawn McCoy play for the Philadelphia Eagles. A few weeks ago, when he called, getting DeMarco Murray and Ryan Matthews in to replace him, when he called that a panic move or what, I kind of just, I let it slide, whatever. I mean, it's probably sour grapes. Now, I'm just, after what he said the other day, some of the things he said the other day, I just move on. Stop coming off as like this, bratty ex-girlfriend and, saying things maybe just to get attention. I don't know. Because LaShawn McCoy, the things he's starting to say is getting old. And again, if anyone, before anyone thinks I'm, being a hater or whatever, or, I'm sticking up for Chip Kelly, I'm really not.
Go ahead, hater.
Because I'm just kind of going to call this as I see it from what, happened, I guess what he had to say the other day. Because again, the past couple of weeks, I've been sifting through Jeffrey Lurie press conference audio, and maybe you want to call it ripping or bashing Lurie for making what I think is such a silly, misguided move to give Chip Kelly all the power. And I'll say this and that about Chip Kelly not really addressing the media or whatever, but I'm just calling this as I see it. LaShawn McCoy saying, quote, the other day, Chip Kelly doesn't like or respect stars. Now let me get to, obviously traded the Buffalo Bills, and I'll put everything into perspective here. But let's read here what I guess the quotes that LaShawn McCoy had to say, all right? I don't think he likes or respects the stars. I'm being honest. I think he likes the fact that it's Chip Kelly and the Eagles. It was Deshaun Jackson, a high-flying take-off the top of the defense receiver, or the quick, elusive LaShawn McCoy, McCoy told the Inquirer. I don't think Kelly likes that. And then McCoy told the Inquirer that he didn't buy Kelly's reasoning for the trade as being purely financial, and he pointed at comments made by Jeffrey Lurie, who said during the owners' meeting that Kelly preferred DeMarco Murray's style to McCoy's. There's nothing wrong with that, McCoy told the Inquirer. Chip felt like I wasn't a fit for his offense, but why not say that? And then he goes on to say, he's not the bad dude everybody makes him out to be. McCoy said of Kelly, he's just different, but I don't really have any hate for him. I really don't. In the beginning I did, but I don't. If I see him, I'll speak to him respectively. How are you doing, Coach? Good luck. So that's, I guess, the essence of some of the things McCoy had to say. And I don't get how, I don't know if he's trying to be passive aggressive here, or trying to, I don't know, make up for what he says earlier in the interview here or whatever at the end there. He's saying, in the beginning I hated Chip Kelly, but now I don't, and I don't. What does that mean? I don't totally get that. I would, it's kind of odd because, I would think that in the beginning when, LaShawn McCoy, the 2013 season he had and the focal point he was in the offense and everything, and behind the most consistent probably offensive line you could say in the 2013 season. Obviously a big luxury for LaShawn McCoy. I would think that, in the beginning it would be more of the opposite, that maybe later on during, I guess his, the last 2 years here with LaShawn McCoy and Chip, I would think that it'd be the other way around. But anyways, that's I guess that's beside the point. To me, that's just kind of, whatever, I guess. I don't really know how relevant that is. But, let's just go to this, not liking star players or whatever, or doesn't respect stars. I guess there's some truth. It depends if, the whole culture thing, the whole scheme thing, whatever. It doesn't. To me, a lot of Chip Kelly is a work in progress and whatever. But as far as respecting star players, on one token, they're paying. I guess to them, Byron Maxwell's a star player. They're paying. Certainly they're paying him like a star player. They're in desperate need of an improvement in cornerback, and people want to say how he came from the Seahawks defense, and they had Richard Sherman on the other side, when you could easily say, well, that meant Byron Maxwell was seeing a lot more action on his area of the field, and the Seahawks, they still managed to, really chug along pretty much throughout, the second half of the season, and well, heck, they got all the way to the Super Bowl, so I'm sure Byron Maxwell had to do a pretty darn good job in his spot to get to that position. That's the way I look at that. And they're in desperate need of a cornerback, and they're paying him like a star player. I mean, they did what they had to do there. I don't know. I mean, if he's not a star player to you or whatever, I mean, all right, that's fine. DeMarco Murray, obviously. And, obviously he's, at least based off of last season, obviously a star player right now in this league. Because, again, I mean, LaShawn McCoy, I mean, obviously, I guess the point here that LaShawn McCoy's making, essentially, is that he's a star player. And I will say, all right, well, yeah, star player. But this past season, if you want to go by quality, he's a star player that underachieved. Again, I brought it up a couple of weeks ago when after Mitch Lambert and I were talking about it. Yeah, I mean, people want to look into the fact that, LaShawn McCoy, he had the third most rushing yards in the season, this season. And then I, kind of brought up how, well, he's also getting a significant amount more of handoffs than everybody in the league this past season who's not named DeMarco Murray. And obviously DeMarco Murray, with all the yards he got a lot of carries, but he was a 4.7 yards per attempt guy. That was a big part of it. LaShawn McCoy, again, he was a 4.2 guy. There were several backs in the league that if they had the same amount of carries at the rate they were going at, their rushing yard average. Look at Justin Forsett and guys like that. LaShawn McCoy, if he would have been outside the top 10 if a lot of those other running backs at the rate they were going at had the same amount of carries. So, I look at that, and it's kind of a second level thinking to that, I would say. You got LaShawn McCoy. He had an amazing 2013 season you can't take away from him, obviously. That was crucial in helping him become, obviously, the Eagles' all-time rushing yards leader. But at the end of the day, how many playoff games has LaShawn McCoy won here? I mean, it's sure he's been important, but this past season, as far as I'm concerned, I have, whether it was he was trying to get, 2,000 yards in the back of his mind or whatever, my general impression this past season was that LaShawn McCoy underachieved for the amount of carries he got. I mean, I have so many, visions in my head of him just, time and time again getting bottled up at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage, maybe trying to, again, with that I'm going to run for 2,000 yards this season in the back of his mind. Whereas maybe, and just a suggestion, that maybe DeMarco Murray, Ryan Matthews, they're going to get the ball and their focus is on running straight and breaking tackles, busting through guys, finding holes, etc. Whether that's 3 or 4 yards, it could be a very crucial 3 or 4 yard gain. LaShawn McCoy, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe he didn't have the offensive line to do that, but I guess get used to it. And the other aspect of it, too, was he brought up how, he didn't think it was entirely financial. I mean, I think you want to, think of it financially or whatever, money and. He wants your money. I think it was just a value judgment because, let's not, I guess LaShawn McCoy, decided not to mention that Chip Kelly was willing to bring LaShawn McCoy back at a pay cut because I would think that, obviously there was a value judgment in that. And I think, again, it's just a little bit of sour grapes here from LaShawn McCoy. Chip Kelly basically said, okay, well, you can come back and play for us, but take a pay cut. And LaShawn McCoy did not want to. So, all right, we're going to trade you. We don't think you're worth that. We're going to get Kiko Alonso, who we're not going to have to pay much money for. Who we think, again, I mean, this is going through their minds. I guess it's not me speaking for them, but I guess, but maybe it's something that they're thinking, he's going to he'll be fine coming off his ACL injury or whatever with, medical science and whatever these days, etc. That's not my decision to make, but that and there's going to free up some cap space here for us. And essentially what they would do is, get DeMarco Murray here, Ryan Matthews, essentially what you would think is going to be a more suitable run game for them schematically. And they're going to pay him, the same amount. I guess ultimately a running game that they're more confident in. And I know LaShawn McCoy said, they, a few weeks ago, like they took it, they're using two backs or whatever to replace me here or whatever, to replace one. And I don't think it's necessarily the point. I think we're going to have a rotation of guys here that we think is going to produce better for us than 4.2 yards per carry on all the carries that were given to LaShawn McCoy this past season. Maybe they can mix it up with these two guys and I guess whatever other running backs they have. Put less pressure on DeMarco Murray, the number one back, I guess, quote unquote. And, at the same time, I guess, run the ball more the way they want to run it, maybe more of a power run game, one cut back style or whatever. And since we're running up against another break, I'll continue. The whole theory with the acquisition of DeMarco Murray as well, because I just kind of find at this point LaShawn McCoy is rambling on here, and there's no need for it. You move on, be excited that you're playing for the Buffalo Bills here, and that's all I can say. Now it's just like you're coming off as like this bratty ex-girlfriend that just won't let things go here with Chip Kelly. So 610-683-4058. We'll get back to this on the other side right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio.
ThePeopleChronicles.com is a community storytelling project out of Berks County, uplifting, challenging, moving stories. Everyday people sharing their lives, their stories with all of us. If you are looking to be inspired and you want to share your story, find us today at ThePeopleChronicles.com.
And you can hear the People Chronicles every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. here on the radio voice, KUR. Kutztown University Clinical Services is hosting an Out of the Darkness walk for suicide awareness and prevention April 26th. Registration is at 5 p.m. and the walk begins at 6 on the South Campus area known as the DMZ. The area is located between Berks, Dietrich, and the South Dining Hall. There is no fee to register and walkers may participate individually or form teams. All proceeds benefit the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. More information at afsp.org. That's afsp.org or call 484-646-5927. That's 484-646-5927.
It's 11:46 right here on Kutztown Radio on this rainy, windy Wednesday. A little break from the nicer, warmer weather we've been having the past couple of days. 610-683-4058 is the number to get in, or facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show as always. And on the previous side, or I guess that's what you want to call it, we're talking this whole call out of the week thing with LaShawn McCoy and calling Chip Kelly out for not liking or respecting star players or whatever. I don't know. If you, I guess, call yourself a star. LaShawn McCoy is a star player, but he was one that underachieved here, and that they made, Chip Kelly, the Eagles made a value decision that LaShawn McCoy didn't want to take a pay cut. We're gonna do something else with the run game, and essentially what that was, obviously, was Ryan Matthews. Initially they were gonna bring Frank Gore here. He didn't want to come here, and that's fine. I think because regardless of how it happened, I think the running game is faring off shaping up to be better anyways than if Frank Gore was here. But so that's whatever, I guess, as people would say. But so they bring Ryan Matthews here, they bring DeMarco Murray here, and there's this whole notion about which is fine. I mean, how DeMarco Murray kind of fell into Chip Kelly's lap and whatever, and that I don't know. I kind of see how that happened, but and people want to I guess throw that into this argument here that Chip Kelly. Oh well, he does. It's not that he really likes DeMarco, star players, because obviously DeMarco Murray, after the season he had last year, is a star player in this league, and he's now on the Philadelphia Eagles. People want to say he kind of fell in Chip Kelly's lap. There was no grand master plan here that Chip Kelly had to come up with to land DeMarco Murray. But nevertheless, he got DeMarco Murray here, and in conjunction with Ryan Matthews, essentially the same price as it would have been to have LaShawn McCoy, who, again, underachieved last season. And, that's the way I look at it. He's had a lot of carries the last 2 seasons, just in general. He's the all-time leading rusher now for the Philadelphia Eagles. But DeMarco Murray being brought here and the whole thing about him, falling into the lap of Chip Kelly or whatever, it's not like he really wanted him. He just kind of, he was there and the Eagles took him. To me, it's, I guess, another one of my analogies I can throw out here as it applies to, Chip Kelly not liking or respecting star players. Does it really matter how DeMarco Murray was gotten here? It's like, DeMarco Murray's like this super hot girlfriend, or, Chip Kelly found this, or just some random guy or whatever finds this, super hot girlfriend, and, people want to ask, oh, well, did she ask you out, or did you ask her out, or whatever, and it was a little bit of both. And to me, I never, if I'm going to talk about somebody I know and you talk to some, that never comes to mind. If it's, I guess this super hot girlfriend or whatever that this guy just got with or whatever, I'm going to, to me it's, well, he's, whatever the case be, whether he asked her out or not, or whether it was more her, to me, what does it matter? He's got this super hot girlfriend. It doesn't really matter how they came to be to me. Unless, I don't know, there was some kind of bribery or some kind of pay. He wants your money! I guess that's a different story, but to me, it doesn't matter, and I've never really thought. What does it matter? The Eagles were they were desperate and they needed to get this big plan together to get DeMarco Murray here. No, it's kind of just it's kind of just like this thing where, all right, well, DeMarco Murray's available. I guess we're willing to pay him this if he wants to take that money and play for us. That's fine. I guess that's kind of the way they approached it, and he just happens to be the league-leading rusher of last season, had a great season, behind a great offensive line, obviously. So that, obviously that's part of it, but nevertheless, he's a star player. I don't care how, dead set Chip Kelly was on getting him here or not. The point is, he got him here. And it's the same to me. Again, it's like the same theory to me that applies when, somebody I know, I guess a guy, I guess gets with an attractive young lady or whatever, or me doing it, I guess, or whatever, finding a young lady. To me, at the end of the day, I don't care. Does it have to be this thing where, for the guy asks this lady out and has this incredible journey to, I guess, become the boyfriend of this really attractive young lady. To me, what does it matter? It's I don't know. It's just that's my theory on it. I don't care, how dead set they were to get DeMarco. The point is, they got the league leading rusher of last season here. in conjunction with Ryan Matthews and, however the rest of the backfield gets shaped up this coming season. And, hopefully they can improve the offensive. I mean, they got some holes a little bit on the offensive. They got some younger guys. They're trying to refilter the offensive line. So we'll see how that goes. So, it's a combination of things there. But nevertheless, it's a star player, the league-leading rusher of last season. And we'll see how it works out. That's really the way I look at it. I don't care how desperate or whatever of the situation people want to call it, or how lucky Chip Kelly was to land DeMarco Murray. The point to me at the end of the day is that DeMarco Murray is here. I don't care how it came together. The whole girlfriend analogy with in this case here, and speaking of girlfriends and Chip Kelly, we actually kind of have a little. I mean, since Chip Kelly, as far as Chip Kelly being a big star in this league, I guess, in a sense, as far as at least by a standard of a coach, we kind of have a Chip Kelly relationship update, I guess you could say, in a sense, right here in the Tyler Werner Show. I don't know, because some people were intrigued about when Chip Kelly, came here to the Philadelphia Eagles, and how the whole thing was like, he doesn't have a family, he doesn't have a wife and kids, like his home is like empty. It just has like furniture and a TV and like nothing else, at least from a variety of reports I heard and just talk floating around. But apparently, this is from BustedCoverage.com. Chip Kelly's girlfriend is reportedly Jill Cohen, and it's kind of funny enough. I mean, this is like a couple weeks ago now. Actually, there was somebody tweeted on Twitter. MLB tweeted that the Eagles head coach Chip Kelly, and mad scientists they call him, takes in some spring training action, and was reportedly at Philly's spring training game. And sitting next to him, of course, is Jill Cohen. And for those who don't know, and people will, I guess, who understand, how Chip Kelly brings all these Oregon Duck players to the NFL, who aren't familiar with, I guess, who Cohen is. Surely enough, she went to Oregon University from 1999 to 2004. So I guess you can see the connection there with Chip Kelly and her. Now Cohen, she had a stint in the Cleveland Cavaliers front office before going home to her native Oregon for the UO job. And it's according to Broken Bell, they received word that Cohen and Chip Kelly might have had some troubles once Chip Kelly took the Eagles job a couple years ago, obviously. But now it seems that things look like they might be back on track, albeit of this, I guess, this long-distance variety way. I mean, it's, I guess, she's over in Oregon, and it's kind of this, but they were seen Philly spring training, sitting next to each other again. So, I guess a little Chip Kelly relationship update there. Looks like, I don't know, maybe rekindle a little something outside of football. So yeah, that closes down the Chip Kelly relationship update for the day. I don't know who heard about that or whatever, but it's just kind of intriguing because, again, I mean, Chip Kelly, he came here. He didn't really have a, relationship, it seemed at the time. I mean, he was kind of just a single guy, no family, no kids. And, I guess as much as intrigued as nationally as I guess people are with Chip Kelly, I mean, that was, I guess, his... he's kind of like a rock star in a way. I think I might have said last week after the Breakfast with Chip press conference or whatever we called it on the Tyler Werner Show. He's people are intrigued by that kind of stuff. So, I guess if that kind of thing intrigues you, I guess, maybe Chip Kelly is sort of back together a little bit with Julie Cohen, I guess. So that'll end that.
This is the end of this subject for me for a long time.
As we head into the second hour in the Tyler Werner Show, the noon 12 o'clock hour, I guess you could call it. And, of course, we are, as we always are, we were last week, and, once again, we are this week. We're on another Matt Walsh watch here.
Hey, Matt, how you been?
See if he shows up. So, I mean, it's one of these things, Matt, if you hear the TV or something somewhere, you are more than welcome to come on the Tyler Werner Show today. Please join us if you so choose. And we will talk some, mock drafts in the second hour of the show today. Continue to talk some more Masters golf, Tiger Woods updates, of course. Maybe about I
had a few things.
Yeah, maybe about him hitting a few things at Augusta, whatever is floating around. I know there's some maybe silly things, I guess you could call them. A silly update with Tiger Woods that I have, and we'll talk about it on the other side. And of course, today, given that it is a fantasy Masters golf day, I guess, for Tyler Werner, you can, and again, maybe I'll get Matt Walsh in on this later. You pick a golfer that, anyone on the board who, you think has the best chance to win the Masters. That essentially represents, your score, I guess, in this little fantasy golf thing we have. So, so look at the field. The top guys that have a chance to win, obviously, the Phil Mickelsons, the Rory McIlroys, and I guess obviously the Tiger Woods for those who are, going to get behind Tiger Woods maybe, and, see how it goes. Try to have a little fun here in the Tyler Werner Show, which is, what we do. But before we hit do the halftime break here, I announced this one, the KUR notebook announcements. Attention KU community, check out Ghost in the House on Thursday, April 9th at 7 p.m. in Schaefer Auditorium. Tony Todd as Jack Johnson. Cost is $15 for KU students at the McFarland Student Union Building Info Desk. This message of community interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. And with that in mind, it is halftime of the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back after this.
KUR Kutztown.
KUR is what you want. Now find out if it's what you need by listening in on 1670 AM or streaming online at www.kur.kutztown.edu. Available at select times of the day on Service Electric Berks Channel 24, Hometown Utilicom Channel 28, and Service Electric Lehigh Channel 266. On your smartphone using a free app like TuneIn, or on any phone simply by dialing 610-465-7860. The radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR.
KUR can also be heard in select campus buildings like the MSU, Rickenbach, Stratton, Rec Center, and Keystone at 88.3 FM.
Nominated for Best College Radio Station at an institution with under 10,000 enrollment and winner of Best Use of Social Media, your news leader in northeastern Berks County, KUR Kutztown.
News, time for news.
The KUR News Time is the top of the hour. I'm Mike Regensberger. At a budget hearing for the State Department of Education, Senate Democrats on the Appropriations Committee say that schools in Pennsylvania need increased funding and that the money needs to be targeted where it will do the most good. Don Rooney has a story for us coming to us from the state capitol.
Senator Vincent Hughes says a recent nationwide survey shows Pennsylvania has the biggest spending gap between rich and poor school districts.
In low-income school districts, that money does not exist. The poverty is so high that they cannot make the personal contribution.
Senator Andy Dinniman says that funding disparity hurts students who must now pass assessment tests in order to graduate.
If I'm a student in a school
where there is no certified teacher, where there is no textbook based on what you are assessing that students for, then we have created a system that is unfair to students.
Senator Rob Teplet says the problem is being addressed by the Basic Education Funding Commission. It's coming up with a more equitable way to distribute state funding to districts.
We're trying to come up with factors that will lead to money going to fund students that need help the most.
Don Rooney, State Capitol.
Checking KUR sports, the Kutztown University softball team went 2-2 in Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference action last week, with both victories fueled by sophomore pitcher Savannah Nearance. Her efforts in the circle earned Nearance the PSAC Eastern Pitcher of the Week honor, released by the conference office this past Monday afternoon. Congratulations, and special thanks to KUBears.com for their support. Monsoon Mike says we can expect dreary weather to last until the weekend, but then good timing. Saturday and Sunday look just fine.
Savage 61 presents the Old School Hip Hop Jam featuring Rob Bass, Biz Markie, Naughty by Nature, and Salt and Pepper. Friday, April 24th at Santander Arena. Tickets on sale now at the VF Outlet box office. All Ticketmaster outlets. Charged by phone at 800-745-3000 and online at Ticketmaster.com. The Old School Hip Hop Jam. Friday, April 24th at Santander Arena.
For late-breaking news, weather, sports, and traffic, sometimes before we can even get it live on the air, make sure you like our award-winning Kutztown University Radio Facebook page or on Twitter at KU Radio. From KUR News, I'm Mike Regensberger. Have a great day.
Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
Yes, it is 12:04 right here on the Tyler Werner Show, right here in Kutztown Radio. And we are proceeding here through the Tyler Werner Show right now with a Tiger Woods update. As we have, we're heading to the Masters here. So let's, let's put up a little Masters theme music here, a little golf theme here. Give an update on Tiger Woods. Now, Tiger Woods was welcomed back to Augusta, apparently the other day, with a purple Nurple. Now, I don't know who, I just, if anybody is wondering what that is, because I didn't know what it was until I read this, because I guess I don't do things like this, but apparently Steve Stricker at Augusta gave Tiger Woods a purple Nurple at Augusta yesterday. Tiger Woods, who looks surprisingly happy for a man having his breast area twisted by a competitor. Maybe Steve Stricker just wanted to test the tensile strength of Nike's new golf shirts. This is a pretty good way to find out whether moisture wicking technology can stand up to a good ringing of the pectoral. So yeah, there you go there. Steve Stricker at Augusta, Tiger Woods was sporting a flashy pink Nike polo there, and Steve Stricker at some point, I guess, comes up to him and gives him what is referred to as a purple Nurple, I guess. I guess the twisting of the breast area there, I guess. I don't know. For those who, I guess for those who are, want to welcome Tiger Woods back to golf, I guess I guess that was one way of doing it on the course, if you're another golfer out there. But anyways, again, as I guess we welcome Tiger Woods back to golf on this show. I would have thought initially I think a couple months ago, I guess when I gave my last Tiger Woods update, when he was really, I guess, trying to rehab his back and whatever, it didn't seem like he was going to be at the Masters, that he's going to be playing at the Masters tournament this year. But surely enough, he's welcome to share your thoughts on him play. Are you going to get behind Tiger Woods here and root for him to win? Does it? I mean, I don't think it is a question as to whether or not it brings more intrigue to the tournament, and because obviously it will bring more intrigue to the tournament. I mean, even from my perspective, I don't think it should. The golf world depends on whether Tiger Woods is playing or not. I don't think it should be that way. But I mean, nevertheless, it's certainly thrown in another interesting storyline into this golf. More attention to the Masters golf tournament this year. Things definitely go up a notch because Tiger Woods is playing, whether you like it or not. But then again, on that note, just to in case anybody's wondering, my predictions: Tiger Woods will not win the Masters tournament and will not win another major in his career. At least that's my prediction. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if things start going south for him. I don't know, maybe on the second round, I don't know, and suddenly we start seeing Tiger Woods, clutching his back again or whatever in pain. I don't know, but nevertheless, we'll see how things go, and certainly we'll have the Masters tournament to recap next week on the Tyler Werner Show. And again, I want to see if I get Matt Walsh in the show again at some point. I don't know if how much he follows golf, if he does, but maybe we'll get him in on this. See if he has maybe a prediction. Maybe he wants to choose somebody for fantasy golf right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. All right, so moving on. I want to get back to this. I guess you could call it ESPN 20th anniversary, top 20 athletes of the 1995 to 2015. Earlier I talked about Sidney Crosby. Let me just you got Barry Bonds at number 19, Mia Hamm number 18, 17 Floyd Mayweather Jr., Usain Bolt 16, Brett Favre at number 15. You go down, number 14, Tim Duncan. Number 13, Lance Armstrong. Lionel Messi, number 12. 11, Shaquille O'Neal. But I think, as you get into the top 10 and the top, premier athletes here of the last 20, I think that's where it gets interesting. That's kind of, I think, some focus area I have more focus on here. And I'd like to get listeners' thoughts at 610-683-4058 or at facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. Because you go through here and, you get obviously NBA and NFL players on here, obviously. You got number 8, for instance, you got Kobe Bryant. 7, you got, this is probably not a surprise to many people, but you have Peyton Manning cracking the top 10 here at number 7.
Chicken parm, you taste so
that's
good.
right. And then you get some couple tennis players in there. Number 6, Serena Williams. Obviously, not that tennis is on the level of the NFL and NBA, but nevertheless, obviously, it's Serena Williams has been dominating the world of tennis pretty consistently here during her time. Number 5, Roger Federer. There you go. And then the top 4 to me it gets interesting. Number 4, you have Tom Brady.
To me, those balls are perfect.
And I know there's going to be people out here who don't like what I'm going to say here, but considering the size of the NFL and what Tom Brady has accomplished, I would put him number 1. At least that's my. Oh my God! And I'll get into that, in a minute there. But number 3, surely enough, we've been talking about him plenty today on today's edition of the Tyler Werner Show. Tiger Woods, number 3.
I had a few things.
He obviously had a pretty, he had a decade, certainly, of dominance in the golf world. The last several years, it's another story. But nevertheless, number 2, LeBron James. And number 1, Michael Jordan. Now, Michael Jordan, see, the thing, again, to me it goes back to, how much of these 20 years were you accomplishing what you were accomplishing. I know Michael Jordan, obviously, see, if it was 1985 to 2005 we were talking here, then, yeah, you could probably put Michael Jordan number 1, considering that would include all those NBA championships that he won and, all the things he did in the NBA. That, and his, he, at that 2005, that was right after he wrapped up his NBA career anyway. So basically that would have included his entire career for the most part, for all intents and purposes, in the NBA and pretty much everything he accomplished. But again, if you're talking 95 to 2015, yeah, LeBron James to me is like Sidney Crosby in a sense. They started playing around the same time, coincidentally, but he's been the best player in the game for, about almost the past decade or whatever. But again, what about 1995 to up to that point? I think you got to take more of that into account. And that's why I put Tom Brady at number 1 in this list. And again, I know a lot of people are not going to like this, but, he's about 3/4 of this time period here that we're talking about essentially includes Tom Brady's career, which features 4 Super Bowl championships, of course, now. Whether people, whether it's controversy with balls or whatever.
To me, those balls are perfect.
To me, at the end of the day, I basically already said, he's the greatest quarterback in NFL history. He's going to go down when it's all said and done. Who knows? He may still win another, Super Bowl for all we know. He's going strong still, and now in his late 30s, and he still play another few years. So he's got 6 Super Bowl appearances, of course, but year after year, essentially, I think they average a 12-4 record in his season after season. So many playoff wins. The yards he's thrown, 4 touchdowns, whatever. Maybe it's not quite the regular season stats, obviously, it's Peyton Manning, but at the end of the day, 4 Super Bowl rings to Peyton Manning's 1, it's that whole thing. So that really, for most of this time period that we're talking about here, has involved Tom Brady building his Hall of Fame NFL career resume as a quarterback, again, arguably as the greatest of all time. And the NFL essentially is the biggest sport here in America, so that's my rationale there behind Tom Brady getting the number 1 spot there. Michael Jordan, this time period includes 2 NBA championships back to back, and essentially him wrapping up his NBA career for the most part. But it didn't, that's kind of it. Again, if it was 85 to 2005, it's a different story, and you can easily put Michael Jordan number 1. But this era, I don't think that's totally fair, because I think it's taking into account as much of the time period as possible. Again, it's the same rationale I had with Yager earlier on when I was talking how I would put Yager in place of Crosby, perhaps. Number 2, LeBron James. Yeah, I don't know. 3, you got Tiger Woods. To be fair to Tiger, Tiger was dominating the sport of golf, for over 10 years, I guess you could say, for the most part. Now, the past several years, again, sure, between all the drama and everything, that he's been involved with, and, all those...
Yesterday I did pull out.
That kind of stuff. He hasn't won a major tournament in a long time. But he's still, I guess, been in many regards a big player in the game. Nevertheless, he's a draw, certainly, to the sport of golf. Tiger Woods, I guess maybe, again, I put Brady ahead of him, but LeBron, I don't know. Maybe you could. Well, Jordan certainly. I think you can slip down on the list a few spots. No disrespect to him, but I mean, again, that includes earlier. Maybe the first half of this time period we're talking about here, and LeBron James. It's kind of the second half of that time period. They both. Well, LeBron, I mean, he had 4 appearances in the NBA Finals, won 2 of them. So you have the same amount there. Although I guess, again, you could say that Michael Jordan, I mean, after those NBA championships, and, of course, like his movie role in Space Jam, and it's, I remember growing up watching back in the late 90s, between that kind of stuff, I mean, they're kind of on an even playing field, sort of. So they could perhaps be interchangeable. But, LeBron James, I mean, he's, I guess, still in his prime in a sense right now. So, whereas Michael Jordan, you were getting him with 2 NBA championships and, him, kind of the twilight of his career after that in the NBA. So, I mean, I don't know. It's, I guess, give and take there as far as that goes with NBA players. But again, I think Tom Brady should be number 1 on this list. And I know, again, a lot of people, especially those who had been following the Deflategate situation and, Tom Brady, some of the things he had to say, and, of course, Bill Belichick, and not being very fond of the Patriots organization for not only this Deflategate stuff, but obviously Spygate stuff in the past. I know a lot of people aren't going to hear that, but to look at it fairly, I think Tom Brady is number 1 on that list. And, I'd be interested in seeing maybe what, if Matt Walsh joins us in a minute here, if he, pops on like he did last week out of nowhere. I mean, probably, try to get his thoughts on that as well as mock draft talk, because we're going to get into some mock draft talk. Specifically, Brian Baldinger, and what he had to, what's going through his mind right now as far as where he thinks guys will land in the NFL draft, and how this will apply to the Philadelphia Eagles, of course. So with that in mind, 610-683-4058. From the KUR Notebook, attention KU community, more than 300 students, staff, and faculty are expected at the 5th Annual Kutztown University Boxer Trot, sponsored by Sigma Alpha Epsilon Fraternity on Thursday, April 16th, outside of the McFarland Student Union Building. All activities begin at 10 a.m., and the race begins at 3 p.m. All proceeds benefit the fraternity's national charitable partner, the Children's Miracle Network. This message of community interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. Without further ado, we will hit the next break. As always, stay tuned for more on the Tyler Werner Show, right here on Kutztown Radio.
You're listening to the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't seen your lap in months. And even more stuff. But still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
1222 right here on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. And, earlier we were talking, well, I don't know, there's been some strange things like updates brought up on this show between, I don't know, Purple Nurples and, Chip Kelly relationship updates and, the analogy of bringing DeMarco Murray here to the Eagles. And, it's like, who cares how you get the girlfriend, who asked out who, stuff like that. I mean, it's random stuff, I guess, but it's not often we do shout outs here on the Tyler Werner Show, but birthday shout out to Danielle out there, who I guess a lady I'm a little fond of right now, and I guess kind of dating, you could say, and it's her 22nd birthday today, so I guess a birthday shout out to Danielle, aka Dirty Danny, as I would call her, because of our shared interest in the Dirty Harry movie series. I guess for those who know what
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's
make my day.
Yeah, I mean that's part. It's kind of a spin-off of that. I guess the nickname there. I guess that's one part of the other part of it. I mean, I won't. Not that it's kind of a joke. It's not necessarily. I guess to be, Dirty Danny, to be taken that seriously. I guess with the dirty aspect in it there, but
man's got
just
to know his limitations.
It's kind of just a joke kind of thing, not really, so that people don't get an idea that I'm, what I'm saying. We'll move on here. If you get, hopefully you get the point.
This is the end of this subject for me.
But anyways,
for a long time.
And speaking, birthday shout outs. It's also another birthday shout. Not shout, but just a birthday. I think it is interesting. Today, probably one of the most underrated guitarists to me in rock history, whatever. Steve Howe of Yes, who was, I think he turned 68 today, but I just know it's his birthday today because I looked it up the one day.
I agree.
One of the most underrated guitarists in rock history. He was, I guess out of 21 Yes albums, he was a part of 16 of them. All the really good Yes albums, pretty much that you can think of. I mean, Steve Howe, he could play any style. I mean, I know people, Jimi Hendrix and Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, obviously, Eric Clapton, names like those are always but Steve Howe, I mean, he underrated to me, one of the most underrated guitarists in rock history, rock music history. So, thought I'd bring that up too, because I don't think anybody else is going to bring it up, and because I thought it was underrated, so I thought I'd bring that up. So that's I guess another birthday of note right here in the Tyler Werner Show. Anyways, let's get back to the business, I guess you could say. Get back to things as maybe they apply to the Philadelphia Eagles, because last week it was the McShay 4.0 draft. Obviously things going on throughout the offseason, a lot of revisions here and there. For whatever circumstances arise, but we have Brian Baldinger's mock draft. I always think is interesting. During football season, I enjoy hearing him on the radio, and he knows his stuff, and again, I mean, it's really a crapshoot when you're predicting these drafts and everything, but nevertheless, see what Brian Baldinger has to say as far as things may apply to the Eagles. All right, so we'll go down the list here, I guess you could say, of what Brian Baldinger thinks for the mock draft round 1 until we get to the Philadelphia Eagles at pick number 20. Number 1, Jameis Winston, Buccaneers, no surprise. Number 2, Dante Fowler Jr., outside linebacker out of Florida. Again, McShay last week, I believe it was, he had Marcus Mariota getting chosen by the Tennessee Titans. And, there's been much speculation that, maybe he'll slide down the draft board a little bit, contrary to what McShay believes. So, anyways, Dante Fowler Jr. at number 2 by the Tennessee Titans. And again, we'll see where on Brian Baldiner's mock draft where Marcus Mariota ends up. Number 3, Leonard Williams, defensive end to the Jaguars. Pick number 4, Kevin White, wide receiver, the Oakland Raiders. So right there's one of those receivers off the board. Something that the Eagles certainly could maybe use an upgrade in, certainly. Number 5, Shane Ray, defensive end to the Washington Redskins. Number 6, one of those possible spots. Some people would speculate for Marcus Mariota. No, outside linebacker Randy Gregory to the Jets. And again, this whole draft, it doesn't include any trades yet or anything. So this is all provided there are no trade moves made. And we'll get into a little more possible trades after we get through this on that note. Number 7, wide receiver Amari Cooper to the Chicago Bears. Another one of those premier wide receivers off the board here, according to Brian Baldiner. Number 8, Vic Beasley to the Atlanta Falcons, outside linebacker. The Giants at number 9, taking nose tackle Danny Shelton. Number 10, another one of those area, to the St. Louis Rams. If the Rams were to take Marcus Mariota, they'd also have Nick Foles there. A lot of intrigue there. Brian Baldiner has the Rams taking offensive guard Brandon Scherff. Scherff, maybe I said that wrong. But anyways, 11, Devontae Parker, wide receiver to the Vikings. 12, the Cleveland Browns, Lel Collins, offensive tackle. Still no Mariota chosen yet. Number 13, the New Orleans Saints, cornerback Trey Waynes. Number 14, the Miami Dolphins, Marcus Peters, cornerback. Number 15, the San Francisco 49ers, defensive tackle Eric Armstead out of Oregon. Still no Marcus Mariota chosen here, according to Brian Baldiner. Number 16, Dorial Green-Beckham, wide receiver to the Houston Texans. Number 17, the San Diego Chargers, Todd Gurley, running back. Number 18, according to Brian Baldiner, Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs, select center Cameron Irving. Number 19, another Cleveland Browns pick, Malcolm Brown, defensive tackle out of Texas to the Cleveland Browns. And then we get to the Philadelphia Eagles with the number 20 pick. This has provided no trades at this point or whatever. Number 20, the Philadelphia Eagles select quarterback Marcus Mariota. If he were to slide that far, to me it'd be a no-brainer. But the question is, does he slide that far? Brian Baldiner has him sliding all the way to number 20, apparently. That's I don't know what people think about that mock draft, but that's according to Brian Baldiner. Again, McShay had the Titans taking Mariota at number 2 in his mock draft last week, his latest mock draft, I guess you could say. Baldiner has him sliding all the way down to 20. So it's hard to know what to think here. That the Jets pass on him, the Rams, some of these other teams that people were speculating maybe would take him. Doesn't look like the case. Again, to me, I advocated this, weeks ago, maybe even, you can even say months ago, that to get the fullest, get the most you can out of what Chip Kelly initially, as far as offense is concerned, I thought and many thought had in mind for the Philadelphia Eagles. The guy that would fit Chip Kelly in the quarterback position like a glove, Marcus Mariota. Obviously I've been advocating that get him if you can, if it's within reason. So obviously if he slides to 20, take him. Because he's going to, obviously the franchise quarterback is the most important thing. And while Bradford has been signed, brought here to replace Nick Foles, I guess whether because he has roots in running an up-tempo offense, even though, Bradford it doesn't quite have the running threat that Mariota has and as much mobility as he has. Not to mention, he's the injury history that Bradford has had. That's another thing. And his, lack of success with the St. Louis Rams thus far. I don't know. This is the whole thing that you can always, maybe bringing a quarterback like that to another place. Maybe they just need a fresh start at a new location or whatever. I don't know if that plays into it as well, but nevertheless, it really creates an interesting scenario here, and the differences of where Marcus Mariota could land according to these mock drafts. Nobody really knows right now. And again, we're ignoring the whole aspect that, trades. Because I mentioned earlier, for those who don't know yet, it came out yesterday, so it's not, I wouldn't call it breaking news or anything, but just possibilities that the Cleveland Browns are willing to, they want to get rid of Johnny Manziel, apparently, and they want to trade they're willing to give up their number 12 pick in conjunction with that. And, it brings up an interesting, yet another interesting layer to the whole possibility of, do the Eagles make some kind of trade or whatever to get Marcus Mariota? Because, initially it was, they'd have to move up to really high in the draft and, they'd have to move up. Maybe the Jets, maybe they move up to that spot. Maybe they'd try to talk to the Tennessee Titans and, all kinds of rumored deals out there. And, as we were mentioning last week and with the whole Chip Kelly press conference audio and about hypothetical situations and moving up in the draft. And Chip Kelly has been kind of saying how it's ridiculous to, mortgage the future and whatever else to get Marcus Mariota. He kind of said how it's important to, you build your team through the draft and everything. And, but then at the same time, it seemed like they essentially kind of gave up a draft pick when they gave away Nick Foles for Sam Bradford. I don't know. It's, that's a whole nother discussion in of itself, I guess you could say. But again, I just don't. It's hard to really predict here. Chip Kelly can say one thing, but then he'll do something that's kind of the opposite in some regards. That's kind of the nature of the game here, I guess, with Chip Kelly and everything. And I whether or not he slides, if you were to slide to 12, for instance, the Eagles, I guess you'd be getting Johnny Manziel in conjunction with that 12th pick. For those, that would create a huge media circus too, because Oh my God! And then suddenly, they got Bradford, Mark Sanchez. Where do all these quarterbacks fit here? And Johnny Manziel. I don't want Johnny Manziel here in the Eagles in any capacity, really. Not like because again, Marcus Mariota, if they were to select him, whatever point in the draft, obviously he's the ideal franchise quarterback for the Chip Kelly. What Chip Kelly has in mind to do with the offense for the Philadelphia Eagles, which is fine. And if things didn't work out and they didn't win a Super Bowl, they weren't successful, then, essentially that's Chip Kelly's epitaph as far as I'm concerned in the NFL. At least coach of the Eagles. I mean, that's, again, to get, I guess as most as you can out of Chip Kelly, and I guess the mad scientist or whatever as people want to call him. I guess to get the most of that out of Chip Kelly, I think Marcus Mariota is an important element to that. I guess you could say a mad scientist and elements. I guess is an important I guess test tube to that if we're gonna I guess make references to science and everything. Bradford again. I don't know. Maybe Bradford can stay healthy or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's a good change of scenery for Bradford. Maybe he's at least decent here because he's not an elite quarterback in the NFL. And I don't expect him to be this season, whether he's playing or not, whether he's ready come regular season game one or the preseason or whatever or not. I just don't. I don't have the high, regardless of whether or not he's going to fit better here with Chip Kelly than he did over in St. Louis, whether he's going to have a better running game or, still at the end of the day, he doesn't have the, I think, enough of the tools I think you need to be an elite quarterback in the NFL, to be up there with Tom Brady on that level and, Aaron Rodgers and the premier NFL quarterbacks. I don't ever see that here with Sam Bradford here in the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's that's where we're at right now. That's another interesting mock draft. Last week, as far as where Marcus Mariota goes, it was because obviously that's a very one of the probably the most intriguing selection and most unpredictable selection in some regards in the draft this year. Where does Marcus Mariota go? And especially since, it's the whole thing with him fitting the Eagles perfectly and everything, and Chip Kelly. It's that's really the main the most prominent storyline in the surrounding the NFL draft this year. So last year, or last week it was Todd McShay up number 2. This week it was had a lot of suspense here to build to, and obviously if he were to slide down to number 20, then he's there for the Philadelphia Eagles. To me it's a no-brainer. But then again, I don't with the whole thing with, well, you got Bradford, and what do you do with him, and then you got Sanchez, the backup. Obviously Bradford's the guy who's getting, he's going to be eating up, a lot of cap space here.
He wants your money!
So, obviously he's the guy maybe you deal somewhere else then. I don't know, but that's really that right now. We got another break coming up, I guess you could say, or the telescopic topics portion of the show, as it always appears during this part of the Tyler Werner Show. So with that in mind, we'll get to that, and we'll wrap things up right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio in just about 10 minutes or less. So with that in mind, we'll be right back after this.
It's Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us.
NASA identified 911 near-Earth asteroids with an approximate diameter of 1,000 meters. These are considered the larger planetoids found within our solar system and located between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter in the main belt. The near-Earth asteroids are split into 3 groups: Amor, Apollo, and Aten. Amor asteroids' orbits come close but do not cross Earth's orbits, while Apollo asteroids do cross Earth's orbits but spend most of the time outside. Unlike the other 2 groups of asteroids, Aten asteroids spend more time within the Earth's orbit as well. Despite the seemingly massive collection of asteroids in the solar system, the mass of the combined total equals less than that of the Earth's moon. Asteroids revolve around the Sun like planets in an elliptical orbit, and 150 of them are known to have small companion moons as well. However, the surface temperature of a typical asteroid is about negative 70 degrees Celsius. They have remained mostly unchanged for billions of years, which might offer some additional insights into the origins of the solar system. 75% of known asteroids are called C-type or carbonaceous. These asteroids inhabit the main belt's outer region. The two other larger categories include S-type or siliceous and M-type or metallic. A rarer type is referred to as a V-type. These groups of asteroids have a basaltic volcanic crust composition. Asteroids capable of inflicting global disaster on Earth would need to have roughly a quarter-mile diameter. Such an impact from an asteroid of that size could send the Earth's atmosphere into a state of nuclear winter. An atmospheric cloud of dust would block out the sun and encase the Earth within a thick veil of particles. But statistically speaking, the chances of an asteroid hitting the Earth at that magnitude only occur once every 1,000 centuries. Information on asteroids was very limited until 1991, when Galileo was the first spacecraft to take close-up images of an asteroid. In 2001, the first craft to successfully land on an asteroid was named Eros and paved the way for others to test similar bounds in the future.
Every dollar you donate helps provide 7 meals for kids like me, quietly struggling with hunger. Together, we're Feeding America. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
$11:28 right here on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. 610-683-4058 is the number to get in. Or you can always go to facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show to post thoughts there for discussion today. I just got done addressing a lot of LaShawn McCoy talk and Darren Sproles talk, and kind of inspired by I guess some of the things Mitch Lambert had to say last week, and I guess maybe to clear some things up. And I'll read an article in a second, or get into a little story that popped up last week with LaShawn McCoy, a new Buffalo Bill and everything. But before that, we have an announcement from the KUR Notebook. Attention KU community. Journalist and media critic Jennifer Posner will speak at Kutztown University at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 1st in Schaefer Auditorium. In her presentation, Posner will strive to give students the literacy tools they need to unpack representations of violence in news, pop culture, and advertising. This event is sponsored by the Association of Campus Events, the Feminist Majority Leadership Alliance, and the Women's Center at KU. For more information, please visit www.kutztown.edu. This message of community interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. So, I just mentioned about last week some things LaShawn McCoy had to say from ESPN.com. LaShawn McCoy, Eagles panicked. So he was traded the Buffalo Bills, obviously, and said that the Eagles overreacted by signing free agents DeMarco Murray and Ryan Matthews. Quote, I saw that they originally were trying to get Frank Gore and he backed out. So then they got DeMarco and they got Ryan Matthews. I thought it was like a panic move. Now and I've discussed this before. I wouldn't call it a panic move, as LaShawn McCoy felt it was. I know that one of the critics, and I think he says, LaShawn McCoy, he says it a little later down here, that he basically, McCoy said they took 2 backs to replace 1. I think DeMarco's quite a back, and I think he'll do a good job there. I'm not sure how that went. The thing, obviously it feels like Chip Kelly is kind of doing things unplanned. I've heard the term frequently thrown out by like Mike Missinelli, for example, flying by the seat of his pants. and this is what Chip Kelly's doing.
Brandy, how you doing, man?
And kind of like he did in the college days of coaching. It's stuff like that. And I mean, I don't know, and we'll get into some interesting discussion today, and of more on that. Chip Kelly being put into the position, the king of Philadelphia Eagles football here, as some would say, and stuff like that. We got that to get into shortly, and more on that there. But as far as like Chip Kelly, with this whole thing with the running back signings, I mean, people can, I guess, criticize it and everything, whatever they did. They can call it a panic move. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think, the idea here, at least from maybe me trying to get inside the head of a head coach, I don't think it's that Chip Kelly panicked. I think it was more that DeMarco Murray, well, he had, he wasn't signed yet by anybody. He kind of fell into the lap of Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly must be thinking, well, I like DeMarco. He's a straight ahead back or whatever, and everything, this and that. He was by far the league leading rusher, and everything else you want to, twist into that narrative there. And I guess him and Ryan Matthews, he feels, are more straight ahead backs that are ideal for him. He thinks maybe the combination of those two, that's why you would sign both of them, I guess, so that maybe you can take a little more pressure off of both backs, for instance, mix it up a little bit. Kind of like I think that was maybe kind of the point of having Darren Sproles in there, at least, or the reason of bringing him in and having Chris Polk run the ball a little bit more often, maybe to give LaShawn McCoy, put less on LaShawn McCoy's shoulders. Now, certainly LaShawn McCoy would still get a lot of carries throughout the season, obviously, but I think, maybe, and I mean, we've seen this with other teams. I mean, the Patriots, the way they've rotated running backs in and out. But the difference here is obviously you got DeMarco Murray, who's coming off of, a season of, maybe Marcus Mariota slides down the board. According to Todd McShay, number 2, Marcus Mariota is going to the Tennessee Titans. Apparently, at least according to him. It'll be interesting to say. Now let's look at the analysis here. So we can, I guess, maybe we can get some kind of explanation here.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all.
As Clark Griswold would say. I think the Tennessee Titans have 3 options. 1, take Mariota. 2, accept a trade offer to move back. In my opinion, the Jets and Rams are likeliest to move up. No mention of the Eagles there. Option 3, take Leonard Williams, who's the best defensive prospect in this draft and a great fit in the Titans' hybrid 3-4 scheme. The Titans could very well take Mariota, even though he doesn't fit the pocket passer prototype that head coach Ken Wisenhunt has had success with within the past. Because Mariota would probably provide good mobility from the QB position behind an offensive line that really struggled last year. He has the potential to be a major upgrade over incumbent starter Zach Mettenberger, but it'll need time to be developed properly. He has rare athleticism for the position and elite intangibles, but he needs to improve his footwork and anticipation as a pocket passer to win consistently in the NFL. I get obviously if